Didi is a personal identity film, inspired from the life of director Sean Wang, who struggled with the identity of growing up as an Asian American. Sean wanted to contribute to a film genre which he couldn't find people that grew up in the specific circumstances he did. A lot of the struggles that involve race, his tween digital presence, hobbies, all inspired the main character, Chris Wang. In a sense, it's almost like an autobiography, but still managing to tell a unique story. What makes this production especially close to home and authentic is that the entire production occurred in the same hometown of Sean, located in Fremont, California. This place served as the setting of the movie, utilizing his close-knit community ties and the help of cast and crew to capture a tender coming-of-age story. For him, it was, quote, a love letter to the place. Didi is concerned with the fragility of a young teen's ego that roots in his Asian American identity. Chris Wang, the teen in question, is faced with pleasing his immigrant mother and grandmother to their own cultural standards. There is a clear disparity from his perspective and theirs, making communication between them difficult. Didi draws the line between generational differences and how that disconnect makes it hard for parents to understand their children. Compounding that with shame of his racial identity only leads to him to suffering more. From Gowri Kambalta's Surfacing Racial Stereotypes Through Identity Portrayal, quote, people express racial stereotypes through conversations with others, increasingly in the digital format. As a result, the ability to computationally identify racial stereotypes could be beneficial to help mitigate some of the harmful effects of stereotyping. This quote helps us to understand that Sean Wang is showing the audience that racial stereotypes also progress through those being stereotyped against. From Wei-Chin Huang's Addressing Internalized Racism and Oppression Among Asian Americans, he states, quote, when ethnic minorities internalize racist worldviews and biases, they devalue themselves and their community, ultimately creating division and reinforcing systems of oppression, end quote. Chris hates himself. He can speak Mandarin to his family, but he always chooses not to. He hates his Asian heritage and wants to change that fact in order to satisfy his friends. At one point in the film, when his ethnicity is commented on, he claims to be half Asian, saying that he is actually half white.
Yo, what's your name, bruh?
Chris.
Chris? Hey, Asian Chris! Asian Chris! Asian Chris!
Half
Asian.
Asian. Right? Half Asian.
Hey, I'm Asian Chris! I'm Asian Chris! I'm Asian Chris!
The self-hatred stems into other issues affecting his self-esteem to the point where he believes his family despises him, when the opposite is true. Chris, for the most part, doesn't even face direct external racism from any of his friends, apart from one scene with his crush.
You know, you're pretty cute for an Asian.
Impactful scenes like this are critical inflection points that shape a child's worldview. That danger becomes even more apparent as Chris develops even more emotionally and erratically for the worse. Unable to communicate properly with his friends or family, Chris dwells and blames his racial identity as a main factor for his pain. Didi highlights the isolating and desolate feeling out of place, especially at such a young age. Comparisons hurt Chris and he hates them. This film takes place during 2008 at the beginning of social media. Revolving around sites like MySpace and Facebook, the film capitalizes on the early digital age, displaying online personas and setting expectations for Chris and his friends. He wants to be noticed, and he doesn't want to be in conflict with anyone. He's a 13-year-old who fakes being a Paramore fan and a Star Wars nerd to meet the expectations of his crush. He still doesn't know what kind of friends he wants to be with. Didi weaves massive underlying issues of self-esteem and the internalized nature of his hatred, but it also seeks to clear and break away the barriers Chris has set up for himself. And as an Asian American myself, I find the contents of the film to be relatable and an opportunity of insight for unknowing audience members. Thank you.